All prices in this video will be in PPP, pounds per person, to cover rent, bills, utilities, council tax, that's a big one that everyone forgets about, so you know exactly how much it'll cost to live in London per month. Hello from London. If you're new around here, my name is Yvette and I moved to London about 3 months ago, and in that time I've learned a few things about London life, so I'm doing a series on things I kind of wish I had known before I moved to London. In this video I'm covering one of my #1 most asked questions on almost every platform I have, is London expensive? So how expensive is London? So firstly I'm going to say it definitely depends where you're coming from. If you're coming from, say, somewhere like Sydney, Singapore, New York, LA, they're all like notoriously quite expensive cities anyway, so your perception's gonna be skewed. However, if you're coming from a small town in Australia like Adelaide, or you're coming from the middle of America, etc., you're gonna find it a bit expensive. All prices in this video will be in PPP, pounds per person. What I'm gonna do in this video is cover off what you should expect to pay for each different subgroup. So we'll cover rent, bills, utilities, council tax, that's a big one that everyone forgets about. We'll also look at beer, entertainment, drinking, all the good stuff as well, so you can make sure that you can pay for the basics as well as still have fun while you're here. We'll get into it, enough waffling. First things first, rent. This obviously varies where you're going, depending on if you're going to house share, if you're going to get a private place, living alone with someone, what area of London you're in. Roughly what you can expect to pay per person for rent is about £700. I've seen that's pretty consistent with even house shares. Pretty much a room in a house is worth £700. If you happen to house share with a boyfriend or girlfriend, then that'll be even cheaper for you, but a bed, essentially, £700. So even in my place here, 1 bedroom, but there's 2 of us in it, so it's 700 per person is roughly what the cost of this apartment is, whereas you could get 700 for 1 room in a house with a house share, etc. So roughly £700. So we'll see, I'll get a tally going up in the top. Next, I'm going to do the boring stuff, because what comes with rent is bills. Some places you go will have them included, but better to budget for it and then have extra money left over if they do cover it. Your water is about £20 a month and your gas is about £30 a month per person. Then you can look at getting internet. Internet is a lot cheaper here compared to Australia anyway, from what I know. Currently we pay £30 a month for unlimited at the fastest possible speed you can, which is 200 megabytes download per second. That's a pretty good deal, but you can get less or more if you don't want unlimited. That's a very flexible one. Water and electricity, pretty similar pricing. My mobile plan is £20 a month, and that's for 8 gig with unlimited social media. And that's with Voxy. All hail Voxy! I've been watching way too much Love Island, and that's all that's in my head now whenever I hear Voxy. So that's a lot cheaper than Australia, comparatively. That's more like $60, so £30, so it's like a third of the cost of what it would be in Australia. And that's even for a cheap one in Australia. You could definitely pay more. And lastly, the most boring but the most influential one is probably council tax. Council tax varies drastically across London depending what borough you're in. I didn't look at this too much when we rented, and realistically would have changed anything, I don't know, because it's for work, but it's still very good to have in the back of your mind. On average, it's about £1,000 a year for council tax. 1,000 to 1,500 where you are in London. There is 2 exceptions if you want to avoid it. The borough of Wandsworth in South London is only £600, and then Westminster, which is central London, is also only £600 for the year. Is roughly in that range I told you. There are a few outliers that are quite high, but they're generally not in London. So definitely budget for that, because £1,000 is nothing to turn your nose at. That's a decent amount of money. So don't forget about that. So our tally will add all the bills in, assuming that you have my lifestyle. Next up is groceries, and because I'm a cheapskate, I'm going to be quoting you my numbers. Be aware that I shop at Lidl and Aldi, so I go to the cheaper shops. Your bill will be a lot more than mine if you shop at somewhere like Waitrose. So because I'm vegan and vegetarian, I don't have any meat or dairy. Severely knocks the price down on my groceries. So my groceries only cost about £20 a week on an expensive week. So if you eat meat and dairy, that'd be more like 25 to 30 pounds to cover the extra meat you'd be eating in the week. So that's marginally cheaper here. The groceries I find cheaper in London than at home, but the rent, I just realized some things are quoted in monthly and things included in weekly. We're gonna make this a monthly tally up the top so you know exactly how much it'll cost to live in London per month without fun money. Next most important topic is coffee. How much does coffee cost? A cup of coffee in like a chain, like a Pret or a Cafe Nero, would be about £2. A coffee, if you go to like a proper cafe, will be more like £3. Or if you go to a hotel, it's more like £4, which I think is quite dear for coffee, but I don't drink it anyway, so it doesn't bother me. But it is definitely one of the more expensive places in the world for coffee. And most of the time it's not very good from what I hear. The next most important, of course, can't say coffee without beer. Beer, roughly £3.6, depending where you go in London. Some areas are more, some areas are less. You can definitely do your research. I even found a tube map that told you what the cheapest beer at every tube stop was. And some were like £5, so it's really expensive for a beer. But the average, I would say, would be roughly £3. The tube basically caps out at about £5 for the day. So you can do cheaper if you're not using it that much, but roughly it's about £5 if you're going in and out of work. £5 is safe to budget. Also, for a week, that makes it about £25. This is basically on par with Sydney, but I will say the trains are a lot better here. So take with that what you will, but it's, yeah, on par. Next up is entertainment, which I'm not going to put this in the same category, obviously, because this is all additional spending, but just to give you an idea. The cinema, one thing I found interesting was it varies here. So obviously in Australia anyway, different chains have different prices. So Hoyts or Event Cinemas both have their set prices, which is roughly about $20. It varies a lot here. You can get a movie for as cheap as like £6, or you can get a movie for like £20. And they're at the same chain, they're all Vue or something. So depending on what area you're in, depends on the price of the cinema, so be careful. Don't just assume they're all the same. So do your homework first. I recommend Angel, it's quite cheap if you want to be cheapskate. Roughly, let's call it £10 as an average. I wouldn't be paying more than £10 for a movie anyway. Eating out can get pricey. That is the same in Sydney. It's kind of the same here. Groceries are cheaper here, but eating out is more. So £10 for 2-star, £20 for 3-star, and £30 for 4-star. Did I get that right? I'm a bit dyslexic. I may have confused myself with the numbers, but you get what I'm saying. Concerts here are cheaper. So music concerts are quite cheap because there's a lot more music here. Whereas also I think, coming from my experience of being in Australia, this might not be transferable for Americans, but in Australia it's quite far to get to, so obviously the tickets are inflated to justify all the flights for all the equipment and band people. I saw the Spice Girls for like £50, $100, which I know will be about $250 in Australia when they get there. The theatre, now this one varies depending on what show you're going to see. You can go see West End shows for about £25, so $50, which is very, very cheap. You wouldn't find that anywhere in Sydney. However, but they also do have things like The Cursed Child, which is like £300. So really big scale there, depends what show you want to see, but at least you have the option for different shows, because I feel like Australia just has one show the whole year round, and it was Aladdin last year. This year it's Book of Mormon. Both very old shows. So overall the cost for the necessities, as I would say them, so your bills, transport, food, rent, all come to £1,070 roughly per month per person. Is that expensive? Depends what your frame of reference is, as I said at the start, but so at least now you can come to London with a realistic expectation of how much money you'll be able to save / go out with. I didn't add up all of the entertainment options because not everyone's going to drink a million coffees or a million beers or go and see The Cursed Child every day. That price can vary and is very flexible depending on your situation, so I don't want to put a quote up for that. Tell me in the comments below if you think that's expensive. From my experience, that's pretty normal for Australia anyway, if not on the cheaper side. Can definitely drive that price up a lot more. So if you found this video at all helpful, give this video a thumbs up and remember to hit subscribe so I can see you next time. But yeah, let me know what you think, because this is just my experience where I live, and the numbers I've crunched. Tell me if you agree or disagree, because I'd love to know your thoughts. Bye.